Okay.
It's Mia.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a weight.
I do.
Can you send it to the office, please, later?
Okay.
What about Kathy before you get off that intercom? Okay. It's just me this time.
Are we not in jeopardy because of absences now? Because I have to go back and mark you absent. Because you were not here for half the time. You can kill me.
He sounds so sad.
Right.
I thought you had like 6
No.
That Tarsia puzzle is your homework tonight. This thingy. Where you gotta match the equation with the answer. Yes, I'm recording right now. Okay. So, to solve a radical equation, the first thing you have to do is get the radical by itself. Okay? So, we're going to put steps up here. Why not? Get the radical isolated. Let's use some big words.
Isolated.
Okay. So, what I just boxed in, I want it to be all by its little lonesome. Okay. Well, right now, it's joined by a positive 3. So I need to shove that positive 3 and get rid of it. What happens when I do that? It becomes negative. To get rid of it, because it's positive, I need to subtract it. Remember, what I do to one side, I do to the other. So it cancels over here, and you're left with the square root of x equals 7. Is my square root all by itself now?
Yes.
Yes. So now I actually need to solve for x. How do I undo a square root again? Square it. In order to undo this square root, I square this side, and then I've got to square this side. So x equals 49.
That's it.
That's it.
That's really complicated.
So step 2 was square both sides. And I guess step 3, we can put get answer. Okay, you should always go back and check and make sure that it works. So if I plug 49 back into my equation, what's the square root of 49? 7 plus 3? Does that match that?
Yeah.
Good to go. Okay, example 2 then. Again, my goal is to get this by itself. How do I get rid of that negative 3? Divide. Remember, when it's out in front with no addition or subtraction, that means it's multiplication. So we divide both sides by negative 3. So the square root of x equals 6. Square both sides. And x is 36. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Let me change this up for a minute. Because you just said, would I divide this first? If I change this and made it 2x minus 5 equals negative 1, what would you do first? Add 5. So the same rule is going to apply here. So you want to add 5 first to both sides. So you get 2 square roots of x is 4. I still need to isolate this, so I then need to divide by 2. So the square root of x is 2. Square both sides, and x is 4. Again, you should plug it in and make sure it works. 2 times the square root of 4. Well, what's the square root of 4? 2. 2 times 2 is?
4.
Minus 5 is?
-1.
Okay. Okay. Can I also show you another way on how to do this? Heck yeah, I can. Okay. So, this is kind of like doing a system of equations. Okay? Any equation that needs to be solved, you can use this method. The left side of the equation would go in for y1. So, let's do example 2. So, -3 square roots of x. Okay, that's the left side of your equation. Everybody good? That should equal -18. So in y2, I want you to set it equal to -18. You don't technically have to. If there was more to it, then yes, because you have to close off of what's underneath the square root. So I just get into the habit of doing it. Okay. So you can then go to your table. And just like a system of equations, we want to know when these are equal. What value of x makes both of my y's equal? So I need to find where y1 and y2 are the same. Whoop! There it is. 36. However, you can also graph it and find the intersection. The problem is your x value is 36. So you're going to have to really adjust your window in order to see it, to find the intersection. Okay. So you do have this option as well. It works when you're solving linear equations. It works when you solve quadratic equations. It works when you solve absolute value equations. Okay. You can do this for everything. Questions? Okay, back to algebraic because it's fun.
Yay, numbers, letters. Oh my gosh, right. Different signs.
Oh, yes. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. You got me up.
So, step 1 said to isolate the radical on one side of the equation. Uh-oh. I have 2.
Can't you just add these 2 equations together?
Okay. If I have 2 square roots, and only if I have 2 square roots, I want to leave one on the left and one on the right. These are actually easier to solve in the first place.
Oh my god.
Oh my God. Okay, so I want to get rid of both square roots. Square them.
Oh my gosh.
So when I square them, that leaves me with x plus 4 and 2x minus 1. Literally, x is to one side, numbers to the other. Ta-da!
Yes.
So, would you like to move the x's to the left?
To the right.
To the right.
To the right, to the right.
I personally would do the right because it would keep it positive. So, I need to subtract x from both sides. 4 equals x minus 1. What's up, sunshine?
Hey, I need 11. I think I need to catch up on. I need my project and probably some other shit. I'm in this work right now, but I was just coming back and be like, if you have time.
I'm here after school. Are you staying today?
I mean, I'm just making up time for a play period in there. But if you're gonna be like, I just didn't know if you were gonna be teaching the whole entire class period.
If I'm not, I'll come down and get you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I then need to get x by itself, so we need to add 1 to both sides. And 5 equals x. Again, plug it in and check yourself. So if I plug in 5 on the left, I'm actually getting the square root of what? 9, which is 3. Well, then that right side had better be 3. What's 2 times 5? Minus 1?
Oh my gosh, it's 9.
9. Square root of 9 is?
Oh my gosh, it's 3.
It works. Okay.
I didn't do that.
So if we scooch you on down to example 5, same rule applies. If you have 2 square roots, you want 1 on either side. So when I square both sides, I get 3x plus 8 equals x plus 4. Which side are we sending the x's to?
Left.
Left. Okay. So I need to move this to the left. So we're going to subtract 2x plus 8 equals 4. Now what? Subtract the 8. So 2x equals negative 4. Divide by 2. So x should equal negative 2. Okay. Again, check yourself. When you plug in negative 2 to the left-hand side, you have the square root of what? 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 plus 8 is 2. On the right-hand side, if I plug in negative 2, I get the square root of 2. Are they the same?
Yes.
Golden. Till we get to this part.
She said, "Feel to get it to this part." Now, Miss Smith.
Okay, so y'all are like, this is really easy right now, Miss Smith.
Until we get to 6, we
Okay, till you find out we've got something called extraneous solutions.
A what?
A what?
Extraneous solutions.
Extraneous solutions.
Yeah, but I didn't go wrong.
In other words, solutions that just don't work.
So why we do
So can we just not do it?
No, we gotta do it.
Why you gotta do it if you can't be solved?
So in these types of equations, you're gonna end up with 2 answers.
But that's an answer.
One of them will probably work. One of them will probably work. One of them will probably not. Sometimes neither one of them work. Okay. You remember those imaginary solutions we talked about, quadratics? Okay, that's kind of what's going on here.
I don't like that.
Okay, so back to the first rule. Is my radical by itself?
No. Well,
What else is on the
yes,
other side?
another X.
On this side? Is there anything outside of that radical?
No.
No. Which means your radical is isolated. There's nothing added or subtracted on the outside of it. It doesn't matter what's going on in the middle. It's what's on the outside. So once you get this square root isolated, same steps, square both sides. So I'm going to square this side and square this side. Okay, well, when I square that left, I have x squared. When I square the right, I'm left with 42 minus x. Uh-oh. Okay. Our problem now is, what has my equation turned into?
Something we can't solve.
A quadratic. Which means you need to either factor,
Oh my God.
quadratic formula,
You're kidding.
complete the square,
I'm finna complete this square,
plug it
boy.
into the calculator and find where it crosses the x.
Oh,
Oh, that's a lot of difference.
Let's do that. Not like y'all like that.
That's a lot of difficulty.
Okay. So we're going to go back over factoring. Then I'm going to show you how to do it on the calculator, because most of you are not going to go to the quadratic formula for these. Okay, so we need to first, in order to solve a quadratic, we need to have it set equal to
0.
0. So I need to move this to this side and the 42 to this side. So we get x squared. This becomes positive. This becomes negative.
Why didn't you just move this over here?
Because I don't want a negative x squared. Okay, so Tay just said, why didn't I just move the x squared? I don't like negatives in front of my leadings.
Why can't you add? I know that.
You can technically move x squared. Okay. It doesn't matter. It's very difficult to factor if it's negative, which is why I make it positive. However, if you moved it to the left or to the right-hand side and then just changed all the signs of everything, it would have done the same thing as moving the other two to the left. So like I could have taken this and done and moved this to this side. So then you would have had 42 minus x squared, and then just changed all these signs. And you get the same thing as what I had.
So you can't.
So you can't.
No. Can you? You can't add the x to the x squared.
No, they're two different terms. Two different terms. It's Miss Love.
Oh, you telling me?
I get so used to it after a while that. Okay, so box method tells me that I put x squared here, negative 42 here. I need factors of negative 42 x squared. 6 and 7. Which one's negative?
What's it called?
Why is the 6 negative, Allie? Good. I want it to equal this. So it has to equal a positive 1, and positive 7 minus 6 gives you that. So one of them goes in one box, one of them goes in the other. Doesn't matter which one goes where. Then we factor out. So these two share an x. These two share a negative 6. These two share an x. These two share a 7. So we'd have x minus 6 and x plus 7. Remember, those aren't the values for x. If my factor is x minus 6, you've got to equal to 0. So x is actually positive 6. And on this side, negative 7. Okay, so we now need to substitute these in to make sure that they work. So, what's 42 minus 6?
I'm kidding.
36. What's the square root of 36?
6.
6. So does that equal x?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. But watch what happens when I plug in negative 7.
Oh, crap.
When I plug in negative 7, what's 42 minus negative 7?
36. 49. I mean, because you have to plus it.
49.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, your minus and negative turns into plus a positive. What's the square root of 49?
9. 7.
But what is x?
Negative 7.
Negative 7. Those are not equal. So, while you got two solutions, the only one that works is 6. So, negative 7 is an extraneous solution. So, it is one that you can get, it just doesn't work.
That's a lot of work to get an answer that doesn't even work.
Oh, a negative number. Even like
It doesn't, it's not necessarily going to be the negative number that's going to cause that.
No, I mean like if you leave out a negative, that would just
Okay, one more. Okay, this is the one the majority of you are going to mess up on, so please pay attention. Okay, is my square root by itself? Yes. So we're told then to square both sides. So my left is 2 minus x. What's That's my right. And don't write it until we talk about it first, please.
X squared plus 16.
You have to put that in a little thing.
X squared plus.
Remember
X squared
what
plus-
squaring something means.
Multiply by plus
Oh, it'd be x squared plus 2.
plus 2.
This means that I take x plus 4 and I multiply it by x plus 4. You cannot just square the x and just square the 4. This is why I said these are going to be the ones that everybody trips up on. Because you forget about that. Okay? So we actually need to FOIL or distribute here. So you need to do x times x, x squared, x times 4, 4x, 4 times x, 4x, and 4 times 4, 16. Don't forget to combine like terms then. So this right side is actually x squared plus 8x plus 16,
Which is the quadrant.
which is a quadratic.
This is too much.
I know.
Yeah, this is seven. Oh, we still got another one.
Oh no! Oh, she's a man. What am I gonna do? I am worrisome. Okay, so I need to move everything to the right side so I can keep my A value as a positive. So x and the 2 both move. So we have x squared. I'm actually adding x, so plus 9. And subtracting 2, so plus 14. All right, here we go. One more time.
All right, here we go.
So x squared here,
That's what I said when I was
14 here, 14x squared. What two numbers are going to multiply to give me 14 that will add together to give me 9? 7 and 2. So 7x, 2x. So I can pull out an x and a 7. I can pull out an x and a 2. So we actually have x plus 7 and x plus 2. So when I set both of those equal to 0, what values am I actually rolling with? -7 and -2. Oh, that makes me so mad when I do all that work and I'm like, oh, I got 2 answers. And then it's like, neither one of them work. Screw you. Okay, so plug in -7 here. We get the square root of 9. Plug in -7 here.
11.
Hold on. Let me actually plug it in so you can visualize it. Not 11.
No, I just said 7.
So the square root of 2 minus -7 equals -7 plus 4. So you said this is the square root of 9, which is technically 3. -7 plus 4 is
Negative. So no.
uh-uh.
The other one.
-7 is not going to work.
So couldn't you just plug it in on one side, and if it's not one solution, like if it is one solution, you plug it in on the other side, and if it's not, you can just leave it. You know what I mean?
You could have in the last one, but here you've got to compare it to what it is plus 4 on the other side. I mean, if you know that -7, when you plug it on the right-hand side, you're going to end up with a negative number, you're never going to get a negative number when you take the square root of something. So that's automatically going to throw your 7 out. If the square root of something equals a negative number,
You know what I mean? Like when we did that side, we got 3, and I was like, oh, that's not one of the X's, so I don't even have to bother doing it on the other side.
it doesn't matter if it equals one of the x's. It has to equal what this right-hand side is going to equal. Because this one here was equal to x, that's why you could do that.
Oh.
But the other side is x plus 4. So you can't just compare it to your x's. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of -7, let's plug in -2. This becomes
Positive.
square root of 4, which is, this becomes, that one works. So x minus 2 is your only solution.
What?
So would you get 2 answers on the calculator too, or you?
You would get 2 answers on the calculator. So let me show you how to handle this on the calculator real fast. Once you get it to a quadratic, or actually you could do it before.
So basically, when you have 2 negative answers, you would go with 1 plus 2.
So basically what?
Nothing to look at.
Okay, I need the rest of you to stop talking because I cannot hear him because you're being rude. Continue.
When you got 2 negative answers, you would basically take the one that's closest to 0.
No, not necessarily. You've got to plug them in and check. So we can go to the left-hand side of this one was the square root of 2 minus x. Notice your 2 minus x was all underneath the square root, so I didn't close the parenthesis until I have it all in there. Everything that's underneath the square root needs to be in those parentheses. On the right-hand side, we have x plus 4. Go to your table. Whoa. Error, 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 error. So none of those work. Error. Up, 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 up. I went too far. Went too far. Okay. So actually, when you plug in -7, look what your y's are. 3 and -3. Just like when we plugged it in and we got 3 and -3. So that one doesn't work. But if I go to -2, I got the same y's. So -2 is working. Okay. So your job when you're plugging it into the calculator, and you can go through all these steps and then use the calculator to check yourself. Or just get the factors and instead of plugging it in algebraically, then go to your calculator and see if they work. Because if you got -2 and -7 and you go to your table, you can see if they work or not. Okay, so there's many options available. Okay, you could have also graphed this. So here's your graphs. You can clearly see that they only cross once. So you can then go to second trace, calculate yourself an intersection where they cross. Remember, we take it as close to the intersection as possible. Hit enter, enter, enter. And your y's are the same when your x is -2.
So that's not constant long.
Huh?
That's not constant long. It stopped.
No, it stops. We're going to look at graphs of them.
Oh God.
This is what we call the wing graph.
Who made this though?
Me.
Who liked the imaginary stuff? I made it.
Then you've got the absolute value. That's your cheerleader.
Why do people make
Go jacket.
Like, we don't need to do that stuff.
Miss Smith, these nails gotta come off.
I'm
So
sorry.
we did it by the same quadratic formula, we still have to plug it back in, right?
Can you write Ilana on that? I'm gonna put it up there when I'm done. If I can stick them all 3 together.
at that emoji. Oh my god.
Okay. So, this is here for practice.
Should I make her do this?
It's up to you.
That says it's on 118 on there.
Okay. This is here for practice. So, somebody tell me what the first step would be if I gave you this problem.
Square them.
Square both sides. Your radical's already isolated, so I square both sides.
Wow, I cannot write it like that.
So, x equals positive 4. Good. Don't forget that negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. Okay? Check it. So plug it back in. The square root of 4 should equal negative 2. Well, what's the square root of 4? So 4 is actually not a solution. There is no solution for this one because the solution you got is extraneous.
Oh, shoot, we stopped checking.
That's what I said. Check your answers. Check, check, check. Okay. No matter what the problem is, it could be an extraneous solution. Okay? This one. What should step 1 be? Add 7. We've got to isolate. Perfect. So, I get the square root of 2x plus 5 equals. Thank you. Oh, you already squared. They squared both sides. Okay. So now, Emma says, my radical's isolated. Let's square both sides. So that leaves me with 2x plus 5 is 9. Okay. Subtract 5. Good, Teron. 2x equals 4. Divide by 2. So x should equal 2. We'll go to the other side now and check that. Does it work?
Yes, duh.
Yes. Oh, no. No.
You want me to plug into the like the first one?
Yes, your original equation. What equals 2? Oh, I want you to plug it in. I want to see what you came up with. Stop being lazy. Oh. How? Ah,
Wait.
guy at the
Is
way.
that
Negative 7 underneath the square root.
Oh.
No.
So
So you have to do the 2 times 2 plus 5. Take the square root of that and then subtract 7. That's where you're getting that 2 from.
So
They work.
so the square root of 2 times 2 plus 5 will basically be this.
So it's
Yes.
glad wrong.
So here's what it should look like. I plugged in 2. 2 times 2 plus 5 is 9. So technically I'm only taking the square root of 9. That negative 7 or minus 7 is not underneath that square root. So I've got to take the square root of 9 first, which is 3. Then I subtract 7, which gives me negative 4. And negative 4 equals negative 4. So that one's okay.
Wait, don't touch it yet.
Over 2, x equals 2.
You're a good friend.
What unit is
Some people take advantage of me.
Quadratics, transformations, domain and range.
Never mind.
7.
Ew, you ugly.
Quadratics is the main focus of math 2.
3 equals 7, 4.
Okay? What's my first step?
Square.
Square both sides. You got it.
You got it.
So 1 plus x squared equals 25. Minus 1. X squared equals 24.
You can't square that one. It doesn't give you a whole.
You don't square it. We have to do opposite of squaring. Square root. So x just equals the square root of 24. You're right. You're going to get a decimal. You're going to get a decimal. Okay.
I'll get it.
You're okay. So we still need to, even though this isn't an answer of a whole number, we can still plug this in.
4.9.
Okay. So we get the square root of 1 plus the square root of 24, because that's my x, squared, equals 5. Well, look what happens. When I plug in the square root of 24 and then I square it, what is that? Because that's part of the equations.
Harley got the calculator.
What does the square root of the square do?
Oh.
Cancel out.
Cancel out. So what am I just left with?
5.
4.
Oh.
So this is technically the square root of 1 plus 24. Because the square root and square cancel each other. To 25, which is 5. And 5 equals 5. We are good to go. All right. Here's the extra special last one, and then it's time to practice on IXL if you're ready to move on to this one. If we need to go back over dividing, I will do that. Uh-oh. What?
Okay, Smith, you got me. You really got me chopped. Like on a
Chopped?
Yeah.
This wasn't
Chopped.
Yeah.
This was
Chopped. Like all the way.
TMC chop.
Chopped. Like butchered.
Like butchered?
Wow.
You can't talk food in front of fat people.
I know.
People
That's
get
why
hungry.
not yet. I was
Okay.
over yesterday, and somebody came to talk about pizza.
If somebody is in,
Oh, yeah, distraction.
Yeah, okay.
if something is in the denominator, so let me get back to you. Let me change this up. So if my equation looked like this, how would you handle that?
Multiply
Multiply what?
by 1 over 8. I'm just playing.
8 times 2.
Yeah, 1 over 8. Multiply 1 over 8. Right?
1 over right.
Multiply the opposite.
It'll be x.
Okay, so you're saying you want to multiply by 1 over 8.
I'm just, and then you put the 2 over 1, right?
No, I thought you would do.
No, you
What
I thought you would multiply
X
by
over
x. You
8,
get
yeah.
x squared
8 over
and
8.
then 8x.
Oh, 8, yeah, X over 8.
So it'll be a quadratic.
You know what? Just tell us. How about that?
No.
It's 8 times 2.
By X.
Divide, no,
X
times
on
3.
X.
What, Allie?
By X.
What are we doing by x?
Just like making it.
Shit, I'm not gonna say that.
That's what I've been thinking.
I said that.
I was thinking that, but they confused me.
Wow.
If I put an x in the numerator and an x in the denominator, that cancels it out on this.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. I knew that.
So that leaves me with my left hand is 2x and my right side is 8.
That's okay.
Then we divide by 2 and x is 4. Okay, the same thing happens here. I have to multiply by this bottom. So I need to multiply this side by the square root of 5x minus 4. And I need to multiply this side by the square root of 5x minus 4. Okay. So I'm multiplying both sides by what's in the denominator to get it out of the denominator. So that leaves me on this side 2 square roots of 5x minus 4. And on this side, I'm just left with 8.
Bubba, why would you
Okay.
get into
You
that?
would swear it.
Now you should be good. We don't square it yet. I have to get rid of that 2 outside of my square root first. So we divide both sides by 2. Now, Tehran, we will square both sides. So 5x minus 4 should equal 16. Now what? Add 4. 5x equals 20.
Whoa, hold on.
Divide by 5. X is 4.
Either I do math slow or y'all just do this quick. I think you go slow. I go slow.
Hurt your mom.
So, I thought,
Go back on
I was wrong though, but I thought 8 times 2, right? So I got 16. So it's 16 right there. That's like similar to what you got.
No, not even close.
But it was 16, and I see the same number.
No, not even close.
So that's not
Because you don't get the 16 until you square both sides. If you would do that, you'd have to square 16.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, you cannot. Yeah,
It's over.
I wish I could tell you yes.
I tried to find shortcuts, but it's not.
I understand. Okay, on the right hand side, we've got to plug this sucker back in. Five times 4 minus 4. So 2 should equal 8 divided by the square root of what? The square root of 16. Well, what's the square root of 16? 4. Does 8 divided by 4 equal 2? We are good to go. Okay, so this goes on 118. This that we just finished goes on 119. On page 120, you will do this. Okay, so let's do one of these together, and then I'm going to let you off to do IXL for this while you're here to practice a little bit so I can answer any questions that you have. Okay. Still looking for an 80 for this IXL. Don't skimp it.
I can't do 5.
So, somebody give me which one of these equations you want me to solve.
The 88.
The 88 one.
I was about to say.
Oh. So you want me to do the square root of 2x minus 88
Oh my.
equals the square root of x divided by 6.
What that mean?
Okay, it is on one of your squares. Right here. Okay.
This one.
Okay. So, what's my first step if I have a radical on the left and a radical on the right?
You square them both.
Square both sides. Okay, When I do that, I'm left with 2x minus 88 equals x divided by 6. Remember, your square root and your square cancel each other out, and you're left with what's there.
That's a minute for 5. It's not hot. That's what I thought.
Okay,
I did see.
now what?
Now we divide
Multiply.
by 6. I'm just, multiply by 6.
Multiply both sides by 6.
That's what you meant.
Because these cancel, and I'm going to multiply this side by 6. Do not forget, though, when I've got more than one thing over here, both have to be multiplied by 6. So we get 12x minus,
A really big number.
I'll do it. Nobody else say it. Don't say it.
too late, Kathy beat you to it.
Kathy?
528.
She did you like that for her.
She probably was like,
Okay, now what?
You take
Bring the 12x over.
Move the x's to the other side.
2L that 2L.
So we're going to subtract 12x. So we get negative 528 equals negative 11x. Last step,
Divide by 11. Negative 11.
divide by a negative 11. What does x equal?
Alright, nobody say it. I'm doing this one. I'm not playing. You better be
Candy say
Right.
it.
Kathy? It's 48. Stupid. Oh. You call you. No, no.
You said x is 48.
So you gotta take it for
Do you see an x? Shut up.
No.
I don't know how else to put it. Because y'all will be the first ones. Help me, help me, help me. Why? When you waste my class time, because you won't shut your mouth. I am no longer helping. If you are speaking while I am teaching, I am no longer helping you with anything. Don't ask. Don't come after school. Don't ask in class. I'm not helping. Do you see an x equals 48
No.
anywhere on your paper?
No.
Yes.
Where?
There's one up in the triangle.
Oh,
It doesn't have to be in the
triangle.
squares.
Oh, yeah.
It can be anywhere.
Yeah.
So those two pieces, this problem and this answer should go side by side. You keep solving it until it builds something, and then you will glue it into your notebook.
Is it gonna be something?
It's going to come out to be some kind of like funky football shape looking thing. Like
That
that.
was definitely gonna be funky. Yeah, it's really ugly, but alright. Let's
But that's what you're gonna end up with. So right now, what I want you to work on is IXL.
You just dropped this stuff down.
So you are working on IXL L.13. Okay. Save this for tonight. That way, those of you, if you don't have access to the internet at home or whatever, you can still do this at home. Okay.
What?
When you said